Welcome to Pillars of Freedom, where we dive into the heart of the issues shaping our nation. Today, we're unpacking the ongoing border crisis between Mexico and the United States. Before we get started, make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay informed on the latest developments. I'm John, and this is Pillars of Freedom. The Mexico-United States border crisis, an unfolding migrant saga, has been a critical issue in North America. Since the end of the Mexican-American War, Mexican immigration to the U.S. has been a historical constant. However, in late 2020, a surge in migration began, reaching record numbers: 1.73 million in 2021, 2.76 million in 2022, and over 2.8 million in fiscal year 2023. These migrants, primarily from Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Venezuela, are fleeing economic hardship, gang violence, and environmental disasters in their home countries. The crisis reached its peak in December 2022, with over 220,000 apprehensions, and the situation has remained dire, with approximately 9,000 daily apprehensions as of September 2023. The handling of the crisis has been marked by controversy. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the Trump administration used Title 42 to expel migrants, citing public health risks. The situation worsened towards the end of 2022 as a large camp of migrants formed on the Mexican side of the border, awaiting the lifting of Title 42. Enter Texas. In 2021, Governor Greg Abbott launched Operation Lone Star, deploying the Texas National Guard and Department of Public Safety to the southern border. Despite federal inaction, Texas is taking historic measures to detect and repel illegal crossings, arrest smugglers, and halt the flow of deadly drugs into the nation. Now, let's zoom in on the Eagle Pass dispute, which escalated on January 10th when Texas authorities effectively blocked U.S. Border Patrol from a crucial area. This action led to tragic consequences, with 2 children and a mother drowning in the Rio Grande on January 12th. The blame game ensued between Texas and U.S. officials. Let's break down the timeline of events. On January 10th, Texas National Guard blocked Border Patrol, and by January 12, tragic drownings occurred. The conflict peaked on January 17th, when the Department of Homeland Security set a deadline for Texas to end its blockade. Texas refused, leading to arrests of migrants and a Supreme Court ruling on January 22nd, allowing the removal of razor wire.
Monday's Supreme Court ruling that Border Patrol agents can cut razor wire installed by the state of Texas on the border. The governor posted this letter today saying the federal government has broken its compact with the states for ignoring the constitutional duty to enforce federal laws, including immigration. Here to talk about this, Democratic analyst Ed Espinoza and Matt Mackowiak, chair of the Travis County Republican Party. Matt Mackowiak, the governor and a lot of Texas lawmakers are upset with the Supreme Court. Should they be?
They should. In this case, you had Amy Coney Barrett and Chief Justice John Roberts, two of the so-called conservatives appointed by Republicans, joining with the liberal majority. It is extremely disappointing. And what's so striking here is that it would be one thing if the feds were enforcing federal law and the state had a different opinion. That would be a totally different legal question, constitutional question. In this case, the federal government is ignoring federal law, and they're harming the state of Texas by literally undoing border security efforts the state of Texas is doing, which should be a federal responsibility picked up by the federal government. So the important to understand one thing about this decision: this is not a decision that says Texas cannot do it forever. It just says they cannot, or excuse me, it says the feds can cut the wire while the Court of Appeals considers the appeal in terms of the full court. I think that hearing is set for either February 7th or February 8th. So it's a decision that's in place for a week or two, or maybe a little longer before they make a decision, but it is not a final decision.
Ed, what is your take on the Supreme Court's ruling?
Well, I think the Supreme Court siding with the Biden administration here shows that the Supreme Court does not think that Biden is violating federal law, that in fact, the border is federal jurisdiction. Now, the issue at stake here is one that is a theme amongst Governor Abbott's border antics, which is that he puts up things in place to cause bodily harm to people crossing the border. Now, we can talk about border crossings and we can talk about immigration policy, but there is a humanitarian element here, and that is a razor wire that resulted in 3 deaths recently, in which state troopers prevented the Border Patrol from providing assistance to those people while they were dying. That is a bigger issue here. And let's not forget that Abbott recently went on record saying that he would shoot people crossing the border if he wouldn't be charged with murder.
Okay.
These are really undermining any other thing he has to say about border crossings, and it's a bigger problem.
Okay, so far we don't believe the governor has shot anybody at the border. That aside, talking about this fight with the Supreme Court, Matt, what is next?
Yeah, so the state has denied that what Ed just mentioned related to that park that was under city control in Eagle Pass and whether the feds were denied access. Look, Governor Abbott's not trying to cause bodily harm to anyone. He's trying to repel people from entering illegally. Eagle Pass is a town of 40,000 people. They have days where 20 or 25,000 illegal immigrants come into their city. So the state of Texas wants to secure the border. They want to know who we have coming in. They want to prevent terrorists and other bad people from coming in. They want to ensure that we know who's coming in, and they want to protect our state. The federal government stands on the other side of that. Now, where this goes next is the Fifth Circuit will hold a full hearing. I think it's either February 7th or February 8th on the underlying issue, and then it could get appealed to the Supreme Court again. But obviously, the Biden administration got a victory here. It's going to be interesting to see how Texas fights back. I think the governor is very committed to continuing to fight to protect Texas.
Another all-time high, surpassing 300,000 in December alone. Now, former FBI officials are sounding the alarm on a new national security threat, as 50 on the terror watch list were already caught this fiscal year. In a letter to Congress, those officials warning, quote, the United States is facing a new and imminent danger, adding in its modern history, the U.S. has never suffered an invasion of the homeland, and yet one is unfolding now.
As of January 26th, the Department of Homeland Security has issued a second deadline for Texas to reopen disputed areas. The situation remains tense, with accusations flying between Texas and federal authorities. Stay tuned as we follow this unfolding crisis. That wraps up this coverage on the Mexico-United States border crisis. What do you think about all this? Is Texas correct? Or does the federal government has the authority to stand down Texas? Make sure to share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more in-depth analysis on the issues that matter. I'm John, signing off from Pillars of Freedom. Stay informed, stay engaged, and let's navigate these challenges together.